Stretch cords. There's a lot of stretch cords on the market, but specifically we want swimming stretch cords. So they're the ones with the paddles on them. They give you a lot better transfer back into the water. Stretch cords were designed for swim-specific exercises on land when you couldn't access water, or also used for warm-ups. So perfect for triathletes before a big race. You can warm up on the land if the water's too cold, but great for swimmers and triathletes for everyday use for muscle endurance and muscle power. That will translate back into the water. Make sure for safety, every time you use your stretch cords, you go over them, you check the rubber, make sure there's no cuts in the rubber. That's really, really important. We don't want them to break while you are using them. It's really, really bad. They can hurt a lot. So always check where you're hanging them up as well. When you hang them up, it's not a surface which is going to damage them. Now you can do technique with your stretch cords. You can also do endurance and power and prehab and rehab exercises. Generally when we start, we want to make sure when we start early on, we do about 60% technique, 40% either endurance or power. And as you get a little bit stronger, working more towards 60% power, endurance, and a little bit more, less technique as you get better, as you use them. Now I prefer using stretch cords with a clock, just like you would in the pool, but you can count your reps as well. There's heaps of different ways of doing it, but for the purpose of this, I'm going to have some example workouts at the end on some paper, and you can check those out. They're all on a cycle time, so like 1 minute work with 20 seconds rest. Now we're going to go through how to set up your cords, and then the specific technique, all right? And then some power and some endurance, and we'll put that all together and show you a set once we put that all together. To set up your stretch cords, there's two main ways which you can do. You can use it anywhere, and that's the great thing about these stretch cords is, see this loop? This goes in between the door frame, and once you hang it through the door and close the door, it's not going to come out. So you can use this at any hotel, motel, house, all right? Perfect for while you're traveling. The second way to fasten your stretch cords is around any wire fence or any small pole, all right? And you just wrap that round and then thread the stretch cord all the way through, and it'll tighten up. And as long as it's not a sharp object, you're going to be absolutely fine. All right, so now you've got your stretch cords hooked up. You want to make sure that your body is in the same alignment. So if your stretch cords are at the top of the door, all right, or on a post, they want to be at about a 45-degree angle and the same angle as what the body will be at. All right, so you don't want them too low. You definitely want them higher than the head. And when you set them up, make sure your hands are on top of the paddles, all right, all set in, so they're not going to fall out. And your first part that you want to make sure you do is you keep your wrists straight. You don't want to be bending your wrist. That takes all your power out of your stroke. You want to have that wrist nice and strong with the forearm. The first action is elbows first, arm, tricep. Three things. Elbows, arm, triceps. And then just recover normally. And then accelerate. So it's elbows, arms, tricep. Elbows, arms, tricep. Elbows, arms, tricep. Keeping that wrist straight all the way through. Now, a lot of people will tell you, try to get your fingers under the elbow. It's really, really hard, especially if you're an adult and you're not as mobile. So I prefer to say elbows out the side. Okay, so you get them at a 90-degree angle and then push past the hips. Okay, from the side. Nice straight back, bum out, and push all the way, straight arms. Okay, see how my hands are nice and strong? Elbows, arms, tricep. Alright, so with the do's and don'ts, we might see a lot of people using their bodies. Okay, this is definitely what we don't want to do. We want to see it nice and strong. Alright, and nice and still. We might also see some people, especially when they're doing the one arm at a time, you'll see their body move. We want to keep that body completely still. Very important. I find it easier starting with two hands, all right? Just like butterfly, and then progressing. So some people will we want to make sure elbow just out the side. It's going to be a lot easier for our mobility. All right, for some of the drills that we can do, we can just break the stroke down. So we're going to work on the first third of the stroke. Make sure the wrist is straight and we're just moving from the elbow. That's all we're doing. We start with tension, and we finish with stronger tension. You can do one arm at a time. Just remember, pop the elbow out the side. It's a lot easier than what some people tell you to try to get the elbow up. All right, elbow out the side will do the same job. Practice with two arms, a little bit further, and then you can find you go the second part of the drill, which will be elbows and then arms. So here, after you've done the elbow, you want to make sure activate the arms as they push through with one unit, and then relax. Elbow, arm, elbow, arm. Go to the third part of the drill, which is all the way through, and it all together. So we go elbow, arm, tricep. Just break it down. Elbow, arms, tricep. Elbow, arms, tricep. Okay, and then try to put it all together. And you see as I do it, I'll accelerate. It's really important. You accelerate through the stroke to an explosion, just like you should be doing when you swim. All right, we don't want the same pace all the way through. Accelerate. Boom. For some of your endurance sets, it's real easy. You can do basically freestyle butterfly. So one arm or two arms, and you're just making sure you're going through the motions, and you're getting like 1 to 3 minutes, sometimes 4 or 5 minutes per set. I'll show you some of those later on. See, come through, explode. So generally for endurance sets, I'll go for a lighter rubber, and so that I can go for longer. For power sets, I'll look for like a medium. All right, the medium is a lot harder, and I'll be looking for sets along the lines of like 30 seconds to 45 seconds with about 20-30 seconds rest, maybe a minute. The harder it is, the longer the rest. All right, and here you're going to have to put a lot more power in it. Use it a lot harder. Now you'll notice I look pretty controlled. You might find that you're a bit jittery when you first start, kind of like weights. You'll get stronger and that will get better. Some of your internal and external, which is like some of your prehab and rehab works, some of your physios might give you. You want to lock that elbow in and then external rotating. Okay, we're done here as well. Lock that shoulder blade in, keep everything in line. Great one for your back is a standing row. Right, arms extended, pointed in, activating those shoulder blades. Really important to do these external exercises and activating the shoulder blades, because you do so much work pulling it into the chest and doing work on strengthening this area. We've got to make sure the back is also strong. I hope that's helped with the stretch cords. Put up a document as well, which will go a bit more in depth and have about 3 weeks of some example workouts. Just like weights in the gym or any land-based exercises, you want to make sure that you start off easy and you ease into it. You don't want to overload everything too much, because when you overload too early, just like when you do high mileage in the pool, all of a sudden, what can happen is you can get injuries. So make sure you ease into it. Sometimes less is more. And if you need any more information, reach out. Email me at info@swimshop.co.nz.